Hello everyone. I want to talk about something which is very, very important in the digital age, and I cannot present you a better essay than this one because it tackles two topics that are very, very important right now that we have to talk and we are not talking enough of. One has to do with mental health, and the second one has to do with digital communication that we are all engaging in this digital age. So let us look at this essay. This is by a gentleman from Singapore, and he says, "It took losing my friend to make me realize how I can be a much better friend." So you already might understand what this means. By Yeo Sam Joe. So this gentleman has lost his friend, and I believe this might be his picture. And here he's a former journalist who works in the media industry. He also co-hosts the SG Boys, a podcast that discusses LGBTQ plus issues in Singapore. So this is gentleman, he is a former journalist and now a podcaster. So here he starts with this. 2 months ago, I lost a dear friend to suicide. Of course, the point that I'm trying to make from this showcase is not so much about mental health, but about the linear communication that we are all engaging in when we are texting, when we are liking, when we are putting emojis out there for our loved ones. So is there any kind of depth in our interactions with strangers and our loved ones these days? That is the main topic here. So let me go here. I have highlighted a few things that I would like to talk about. He is obviously grappling with the grief. He is living with the survivor's guilt because he feels like he has not done enough. Especially this friend who commits suicide, he had reached out to him in his DM on Instagram saying that let's go out and talk to each other heart to heart. So he says that there is an unfulfilled promise that I had kept for my friend, but I never followed through it, and now he's gone forever. So if you can see, how many times have we typed "How are you" to someone only to get "I'm okay, how about you" as a routine reply, and take it for granted that they are truly alright. We are all guilty as charged. We just want to do a quick hello here and there, just make sure we don't have any unread messages quickly so that it doesn't sit on our head weighing the burden of notifications weighing on us so heavily, right? So we are quickly like, okay mom, okay dad, okay, whether it's a friend who's trying to reach us, we are not stopping long enough to really truly ask them how we are, or even for us to communicate with them how we are truly feeling. Today the sun hasn't come out really, and I was just thinking, I'm so dependent on the sun to cheer me up, right? And I just changed the light bulb here in my room, and I just wanted it a bright light into the room so that I feel a little alive. But I truly don't have anybody to express how I really feel, right? And I don't want to make my family feel sad for me because I'm feeling a little low. Even in the house, we are not communicating as much, and imagine how little we are doing in the digital space as far as communication goes. And the reason why I picked up this article is it is just so it just makes some really, really tough points in a very, very good language, with very, very good vocabulary. So it's really heartfelt. So he says, these days we use social media and messaging apps as a convenient crutch to check in and catch up with our loved ones. Hearts on tweets, Instagram reels, and smileys and voice messages in family WhatsApp groups, stickers and video bubbles in Telegram chats. All these signal that we are interested and invested in each other's lives. But how often do they amount to more than cursory greetings and fleeting exchanges? I guess he really hits the nail on the head with this kind of language here, because truly, are we really interested and invested in each other's well-being when we are just, quickly browsing through walls on walls of information and messages? So here he quotes A 2016 study by Hamza at Taiba University suggests that emojis can carry universal connotations and are devices for demonstrating tone, intent, and feelings. Okay, so and in a way that non-verbal cues in physical personal interactions too, right? So that is good news that yes, it is a universal language. These emojis, the laughing, crying emoji, or the frustrated emoji, or the brain explosion emoji. I mean, irrespective of whether you know the language or not, if you see those emojis, you can instantly connect. There is some good news with that, but he says when he was studying abroad in California, it was Chinese New Year, and you know how in America, even though there are people from the Chinese diaspora, obviously they're all still attending university. These classes are in full swing, and the prosaic atmosphere was a far cry from the rowdy festivities that I was used to. That's what he says. But then what he does is a Skype video call changes everything, where he is talking to his family, cheering and feeling like somewhat he's also being part of the celebrations here. Yes, there are perks, he says, but virtual communication has its limits. Emojis and messages often result in emotional and semantic ambiguity. While they may be comforting, they are seldom deep and nuanced reflections of our well-being. This is the key, emotional and semantic ambiguity. So you truly don't know. So if I remember clearly, a few years ago, when I was used to typing all caps in emails, somebody told me that typing all caps was a sign of the other person being angry at the person who is receiving the message. So I was like, oh my goodness, I did not even know that, right? So, so there is a lot of ambiguity, emotional and semantic ambiguity, because you might be typing in a certain way. And of course, with this textese language that teenagers use, it's just all the more confusing. And they are they are nowhere near deep or nuanced, right? So it's just okay. It still feels very much superficial. There are warm hugs and romantic kisses or shoulders to cry on, physical acts that serve as hallmarks of humanity and compassion. So compare that, juxtapose that with the emoticons that we use. It all feels so superficial. So here he gives a very, very good example of an advertisement that he sees, where he says that when a person who is involved in a traffic accident is crammed with numerous smileys, hugging hearts, and care emojis. Isn't that what we do? If anybody says that my loved one has passed away, rip, 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 literally the entire wall is filled with RIP or like hugs emojis and all that. And then in another scene, an old lady with cancer sits at home with nothing but flickering, hovering hearts for company. So at the end, he says how he is changing for the better after his friend passed away is that coffee over emoji. I really, really love this, because he says, with every emoji I send, I now suggest a cup of coffee if I sense that someone has something to get off their chest. This personally is something that I would also like to use in my own life, because I usually am very busy throughout the day, and I just want to just quickly check in with my friends. Nothing too deep, because I really don't have the time for that kind of an interaction. That's what I think. But just for my own and for the other person's mental health sake, maybe I can just try getting off my computer and getting out in the world to really deeply care. Thank you.